But anyway, it doesn't hurt. Even if I say things that you've heard before, usually it doesn't hurt to hear them again. We can always hear the same things again and again to deepen our awareness, our understanding. So my experience with meditation is not something exclusive to Buddhism. There are other types of meditation in other religions and other spiritual traditions, but I haven't studied all of them. So my knowledge and experiences from Buddhism, and mainly from Tibetan Buddhism. And so what I have learned from my teachers, Tibetan teachers like Lama Yeshe and Lama Zopa Rinpoche and the Dalai Lama and so on, the word for meditation in Tibetan language is gom, and that has the meaning of familiar or habituate. And so what we are trying to do when we practice meditation is to make our minds familiar with or habituated to certain experiences, certain states of mind. And what those are positive, virtuous, good states of mind, healthy states of mind. So mind in Buddhism, you've probably heard this, but again, it doesn't hurt to hear it again. When we talk about mind in Buddhism, we're not talking about the brain. It's not the brain. It's not the electrical impulses in the brain. In fact, it's not any part of our body. It's not something physical. It's totally non-physical. So the understanding of mind in Buddhism is that it's a non-physical kind of, we could say a kind of energy, although the word energy is a little bit vague, but it's some kind of phenomena that doesn't exist physically. So that what that means is it's not made of any physical material like cells, molecules, atoms, and so on. It has no physical properties at all. That means we can't see the mind with our eyes or touch it with our hands. And even the instruments that scientists have, they can study the brain and, different parts of the brain, different activities of the brain, but they can't see the mind with these instruments that they have, like MRI and I don't know what else. They have other instruments, but with those instruments, they can't actually see the mind or detect the mind. It's something non-physical. Although the mind and the body are interrelated, interconnected. They're not like totally separate things. Mind and body sort of exist together and affect each other, influence each other. So for example, when we have a negative state of mind, if we're feeling depressed or angry, that will affect our body. And there's, research has shown this, that our physical body, our health and so on are affected by our states of mind, whether positive or negative, happy or unhappy. So what is going on in our mind does affect our body, but it also works the other way. Things going on in our body can affect our mind. So if we're feeling sick, then it's difficult to have a positive state of mind. Our mind will be affected and we'll probably feel unhappy and maybe even grumpy, bad-tempered, and so on, and also unclear, not a very clear state of mind when our body is not feeling well. So what's happening in the body affects the mind, and what happens in the mind affects the body, but they are still different kind of phenomena. And so in Buddhism, when we practice meditation, we are primarily working with our mind, using our mind to understand our mind and to work with our mind. And the goal in Buddhism, the goal of Buddhist practice and especially meditation, is to bring about a positive transformation of our mind. Because within our mind, there are different kinds of thoughts and emotions. And in a very general way, we can talk about negative states of mind and positive states of mind. So negative states of mind, which are also called delusions or afflictions, those disturb our mind and cause our mind to be unhappy and unclear. They can also affect our body and our health. So examples, one of the best examples of that is anger. Whenever we have anger or hatred or any, that kind of state of mind, even just aversion, irritation, impatience, those are kind of low level forms of anger. But when that's going on in our mind, then I think we can easily see that we don't feel peaceful, calm, happy, right? Our mind is like disturbed, agitated, unhappy. And it can also affect our body. Yeah, our body can feel tense, and it can be difficult to eat, difficult to sleep, depending on how strong our anger is. But that's an example of a what we could call a negative state of mind. It has negative effects on our mind and also on our body. But we also have positive states of mind. And those have a positive effect, a good effect on our mind. They make our mind happy and clear, peaceful, feeling good. And one of the best examples of that is what we call love or loving kindness. And that's where we care about other people, or even just one other person or one other being, like a pet. So we have this warm, caring feeling towards that person or that being. We want to take care of them. We want to help them. We want to make them happy. We want to do whatever we can to ensure that they are happy and comfortable and have what they need. So when that's going on in our mind, when there's loving kindness in our mind, then the mind is in a very good state. It's like very comfortable, very peaceful, very happy, and also physically, the way we feel physically, we feel relaxed and we have energy to do what we can to help that person or that being towards whom we have these positive feelings. So those are examples of a negative state of mind and a positive state of mind. And so the aim of meditation in Buddhism is to work on the mind so that we decrease the negative states of mind. Those are the ones that make us unhappy, and they can also make other people unhappy, because when we're feeling angry, for example, we're in a bad mood, angry, grumpy, then the people around us will be affected by that. Right? They're not going to be comfortable, and they may become angry as well. Right? So it's infectious, it's contagious. Whatever mood or emotion we may have, other people can pick up on that and also get into that. And so not only do the negative emotions, negative states of mind disturb ourselves, but they can also disturb others. Then on the global scale, on the scale of society, our country, the world, then we can also see the adverse effects of anger, for example, anger and hatred. It starts wars and fighting, conflict, terrorism, abuse, violence. So lots of horrible things happen when somebody's mind gets affected by anger and they act it out. So I think it's pretty clear that anger is one negative state of mind, but according to Buddhism, it's not something permanent. It's not something that's always with us. It's not always there. It comes and goes, like clouds in the sky, like the weather, Some days the sky is clear and sunny and no clouds, nothing obscuring the sky. But other days it's just the opposite. The sky is cloudy, totally covered with clouds, and sometimes even dark clouds, and there may be thunder, lightning, and so on. So very stormy skies. But the clouds in the sky are not permanent. They are impermanent. They come and go. And so they're there for a while, and then they will pass. And then once again, the sky will be clear. And so the sky is a nice analogy to understand our mind. Our mind is said to be similar to the sky in the sense that it's kind of vast and spacious, full of potential. And things like our negative, disturbing emotions, like anger and so on, these are like clouds that come and go, but are not permanent parts of the sky, not permanent parts of our mind. And another thing is there are things that we can do to work on our mind so that we can reduce these negative and disturbing emotions. We can learn to manage them so they don't take over our mind and kind of incite us to do things that cause problems for ourselves and others. So we can learn how to manage our negative emotions, and we can learn how to increase our positive emotions: love, compassion, kindness, generosity, patience, wisdom. So these are some of the positive states of mind that we have, and we can work on growing those, nourishing those, increasing those, so we have those present more and more in our experience. So that's actually the real purpose of meditation in Buddhism, is using our mind to work on our mind and bring about this kind of transformation, decreasing the negative states of mind like anger, greed, jealousy, and so on, and increasing the positive states of mind like love and compassion and wisdom and so on. And so this is good for us, because if we can have fewer negative states of mind and more positive ones, we'll be happier, we'll be healthier, our relationships will go better with other people, our life will go better, we'll be able to handle difficulties better. And so that's kind of the ultimate real purpose of meditation. And there's lots of different kinds of meditation. Here I was asked to focus on Shamatha meditation. This is a kind of meditation where we learn to keep our mind focused or concentrated so that it isn't just wild and going all over the place, thinking of one thing after another, like every few seconds, thinking about something else. So when our mind is like that, it's not peaceful and not really happy, actually quite disturbed. Whereas if we can learn to keep our mind focused, concentrated on one object, and keep it there on that one object for longer and longer periods of time, then our state of mind will be more peaceful. And there's the at higher stages of concentration, one is able to experience bliss. There's experiences of bliss in body and mind. But you generally have to work pretty hard to get to that point. It's not something you may experience right away in your practice. So better not to have an attitude of expectation and grasping. I want that experience. But if we keep practicing slowly, then that kind of experience will come more easily. So that's how meditation is explained in Buddhism. And I don't know, nowadays meditation is kind of popular. There's a lot of people practicing meditation, a lot of teachers teaching meditation. There's even apps I haven't looked into any of those, but there's apps that help people in their practice of meditation. I don't know whether those are really helpful or not. And there's lots of books, lots of places you can find online where you can find information about meditation, instructions on meditation, and so on. And when something like meditation gets popular like that, it's possible that people can develop misunderstandings about what meditation is for, like what is the purpose for meditation. And at least like from the Buddhist point of view, I explain what's the purpose of doing meditation in Buddhism. But probably nowadays there are people who may meditate for other reasons, other purposes, to be more relaxed, to feel better, to be healthier, to take care of their, physical problems, pain or illness. And there's nothing wrong with meditating for those purposes in order to feel better. But it's just not, from the Buddhist point of view, that's not the real purpose, the kind of deepest or most long-term purpose of meditation. As I mentioned, the real purpose is to bring about a transformation of our mind, and not just a healthier state of being or feeling more relaxed. And also, if people have that kind of idea that the meditation is practiced in order to feel better, it's possible that they may be disappointed when they do actually start to practice meditation. This happened to me once. Actually, I was in Australia, over in Perth, and I was teaching, I don't remember what I was teaching. It was like a weekend course, probably about meditation. And one of the participants, this woman, one day during a discussion, she said that she took up the practice of meditation in order to feel more relaxed. Yeah, that was her goal, was to be more relaxed. But her experience when she did start to meditate was not relaxed. What she experienced was lots of thoughts, lots of mental turmoil, mental turbulence when she sat down to meditate. So she was kind of surprised. I think she had the expectation that, and it's easy to get this when you look at pictures of people meditating, when there's advertisements for meditation courses or magazines, that show meditation. They'll show somebody sitting maybe in a really beautiful setting in nature, and they're sitting there and they have this expression on their face of looking totally calm and peaceful and blissful. And so it's easy to look at those pictures and then think, oh, I want to be like that. That's what I want to experience. And if I practice meditation, then I will feel that way. I will feel calm and peaceful and blissful. And yeah, it might happen. Yeah, everyone has different experiences when they practice meditation. So some people might be able to have that kind of calm and peace, but many other people do not. Many other people, when they practice meditation, come up against their mind, and they come up against what's really going on in their mind, which isn't necessarily something calming and peaceful and blissful, but it could be kind of a lot of disturbing thoughts and emotions. And so today I was looking at a book by Pema Chodron. You've probably heard of her. She's an American nun and teacher, probably one of the most well-known Buddhist teachers in the Western world, and author of many books. And so she, one of her books is called How to Meditate. And it's funny, I've also written a book called How to Meditate. Mine was, I think it was first published in 1984, but it's still, that was like 30 years ago, but they're still publishing it, still selling it. It's still kind of popular. And this one came out in 2013. But I like this book very much. I really like a lot of the things she says. And I also like the subtitle. The subtitle of the book is A Practical Guide to Making Friends with Your Mind. Yeah. And I think that's really, really important, that we learn to make friends with our mind. We learn to be friends with ourselves, because, many people in the West, we tend to have a kind of inner conflicts with ourselves. A lot of people even hate themselves, put themselves down, feel a lot of guilt, shame, self-blame, self-criticalness because of things that they see in their self. Like thoughts that they have, feelings that they have, things they've done in their life. And I know this very well, because this is a problem I've had most of my life, and I still have. I'm still working on it. But if we have that kind of attitude, if we feel I'm not a good person, I don't like myself, and we go into the practice of meditation with that kind of attitude, then meditation can become like fighting with ourselves. Because inevitably, when we sit down and close our eyes and try to meditate on whatever we're meditating on, the breath, or a mantra, or whatever, we're going to be facing our mind. Meditation brings us kind of face to face with our mind. We can't run away from our mind. We'll see much more clearly what is going on in our mind, what kind of thoughts we have, what kind of emotions we have, and so on. And if we have a kind of antagonistic attitude towards ourselves, then what can happen is in meditation, we're actually fighting with ourselves. We're fighting what is actually going on in our mind. And that's not a healthy attitude to have, and it won't lead to a good practice of meditation. And so I really like this idea of meditation being a way to become friends with ourselves, friends with our mind. Yeah. And one of the things she says here, I'll just read it. She says, we do not meditate in order to be comfortable. We do not meditate in order to be comfortable. So when we hear that, I think when many people hear that or read those words, they may feel a kind of shock, because probably for a lot of people, that is what they want to get out of meditation. They want to feel good. I mean, that's normal. Yeah, we all want to feel good. We all want good feelings, good experiences, both in our body. We want, to feel good in our body. We want to feel good in our mind. We're looking for good feelings. And so I think probably when we take up the practice of meditation, there is that hope, that wish, that expectation that this is going to make me feel good, right? Does anyone notice that in yourself? Yeah, the wish to feel good. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's not wrong to want to feel good. But if we have that kind of attitude and expectation, then we might run into difficulties. Like that woman that I mentioned, she expected that when she practiced meditation, it would make her feel good. Yeah, she would feel calm and peaceful, but instead she felt crazy because she saw all these thoughts in her mind and she didn't know how to stop them, didn't know how to control them, didn't know how to get away from them. So I don't remember what I said to her. That was a long time ago, but I probably just explained to her that, when we meditate, we are getting to see our mind more clearly. And we have to learn how to work with our mind, how to manage our mind, and not be bothered by our mind. So just a little bit more from Pema Chodron's book. She says, we don't meditate in order to be comfortable, but she says, also, but however, the purpose of meditation is not to feel bad. Okay, so instead, the purpose of meditation is to learn how to be with whatever is going on. Yeah, whether we're having good experiences or we're having not so good experiences, learning to manage those, to not be disturbed by those experiences. And then she said, further down, she says, if meditation was just about feeling good, and I think all of us secretly hope that is what it's about, we would often feel like we must be doing it wrong. Because at times, meditation can be such a difficult experience. A very common experience of the meditator in a typical day or on a typical retreat is the experience of boredom, restlessness, a hurting back, pain in the knees. Even the mind might be hurting. So many not feeling good experiences. So instead of thinking that meditation is just about feeling good, she says, meditation is about a compassionate openness and the ability to be with oneself and one's situation through all kinds of experiences. Okay, so I'll read that again. Meditation is about a compassionate openness and the ability to be with oneself and one's situation through all kinds of experiences. In meditation, you're open to whatever life presents you with. It's about touching the earth and coming back to being right here. So I think that's really wise and helpful advice to contemplate and also to check, what do we hope for? What do we expect for in meditation? So of course you've probably heard and read about states of mind that can be achieved through the practice of meditation. The highest state is enlightenment, awakening, Buddhahood. And then there's other kinds of realizations that we can achieve where our mind is very, blissful, and we have the wisdom that sees things as they are, clears away all of our mistaken thoughts and emotions and so on. So definitely there are such states of mind that can be attained through the practice of meditation. But if we start off meditating with an idea, I want that experience as quickly as possible. This session today, right now, I want that experience. So there's this sort of grasping attitude. Yeah, our mind is grasping at some kind of pleasant experience or blissful experience or spiritual experience. Then that kind of attitude, that grasping attitude, is actually counterproductive. It's an obstacle to being able to get the real benefit of meditation. Lama Yeshe, I was very fortunate to meet him and be his student for 10 years until he passed away. One of the things he used to say to us is, when you meditate, don't have any expectations. Yeah, but that's not easy to do. I think every time we do something, we have some expectation. We're going to get something out of it. Usually something good, of course, we expect. some good experience, some insight, get what somebody else has, and we hear about that and we want that too, so we want to get that. And so it's very hard not to have expectations, but we should at least try not to have expectations, try to put aside all expectations and instead just do it, just do the practice. Because expectations, they're really coming from the ego. They're coming from a strong sense of I, okay, and also self-centeredness. Yeah, we tend to feel I am so important. I am the most important person in the world, the center of the world, the center of the universe. I should have only good things, good experiences. Only good things should happen to me, and not bad things. Bad things should never happen to me. They can happen to other people, but not me. Okay, so we tend to have this kind of attitude. We all do, all unenlightened beings. We all tend to be self-centered and also kind of greedy for good things, and so those underlying attitudes are what lead to having expectations. So that whatever we do, wherever we go, we expect things to go well. We expect to have a good time, good experiences. Yeah. So try to look out for that attitude. Try to notice if that attitude is happening. And it may be subtle. You may not be able to recognize it. But one way that we can recognize it is if we ever have a feeling of disappointment. When we feel disappointed, like we may take up the practice of meditation and we meditate for a while. And maybe in the beginning, we're all enthusiastic and excited about doing meditation. But then after a while, that enthusiasm starts to fade. We may start to become bored with it. We start to think, oh, maybe this is a waste of time. Maybe I shouldn't be doing this. It's not bringing what I hoped would happen. So if you ever have those kinds of thoughts, those kinds of feelings, then that probably is an indication that you had expectations and your expectations weren't met. And so now you're thinking of giving this up and maybe doing something else. It was really funny. One time I was teaching a meditation course, and it was a 10-day course at Tushita Meditation Center in Dharamsala. And so we had Buddhist, talks about Buddhist, the Buddhist path, but also meditations. And one day during a break, one young man came up to me and he said, I've been meditating for 3 days now and nothing has happened. And I said, well, what did you think was going to happen? And he said, well, I don't know, but something should have happened by now. Other people are having experiences and, I should have experiences too, but they're not happening. So I don't want to keep meditating if nothing is going to happen. And I couldn't help but wonder how he knew that other people were having experiences, because it was supposed to be a silent retreat. I mean, people don't always keep silence in those retreats. They often go off in the forest and, whisper to each other, but they're supposed to be keeping silence. So how did he know other people were having special experiences in their meditation? But this is one thing that we do. We sometimes hear about other people's experiences, or we read about them in books, or maybe in movies, movies about these things. And then we feel, I want those experiences too. I want to have that experience too. And that is kind of underlying our interest in meditation. And then if those experiences don't happen, that's when we may feel, disappointed, and maybe I'm not doing the right thing. Maybe this is a waste of time. And then we think about giving it up. So anytime there is that kind of feeling of disappointment and boredom, restlessness, wanting to do something else besides meditate, it's probably an indication that we had some expectations and we're not getting what we expected. So we're starting to lose interest in meditation. And so it's a tricky thing. We have to have enthusiasm. We have to have the wish to practice meditation, but at the same time, not have that sort of greedy, grasping, egotistical attitude of, I want such and such experience within such and such a period of time. And then if that doesn't happen, oh, I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm going to give it up. It's a waste of time. So just watch out for that. Just be careful about that. And instead, the ideal attitude is just to do it. To have faith in the Buddha, to have faith in the teachers that you have met, the teachers who have kept alive these practices from the time of the Buddha until now, and just, confidence that, okay, they practiced meditation and they had good results. If I practice meditation, I will get those results as well, but not through being greedy and grasping and I want it now. Rather, slowly, I'll keep practicing. And one day, when the time is right, then those experiences will happen. Okay, so maybe that's enough talk. I thought that we could do a practice together of meditation and I sent via Anne, I sent just a little sheet with instructions on meditation on the breath, as well as the ideal posture for meditation. So when it comes to Shamatha meditation, we choose an object and then we try our best to keep our mind focused on that object as long as possible. And then whenever the mind wanders away, we bring it back to that object. So we keep doing that again and again and again. And that's making our mind familiar with concentration or, single-pointedness. Just staying single-pointedly on one object. Now, the object could be the breath. That's one possible object that you could use, but it isn't the only object that everybody has to use. So in the Buddhist scriptures, there are, different objects mentioned that one could use for shamatha. Some of them are a little bit complicated, so without knowing Buddhist philosophy, it would be a little hard to know those objects. And in our tradition, the Tibetan tradition, particularly the Gelug tradition, what the teachers usually recommend is the Buddha, an image of the Buddha. So you create a mental image, a visualized image of the Buddha in the space in front of you, and then you stay focused on that image. I don't know if you've ever done that kind of practice before. Maybe we won't do it today. I think many people, including myself, have difficulty visualizing. Some people, they do it really well. You tell some people, you tell them to visualize something and right away they can visualize it very clearly. But I think such a person is rare. I think most people struggle with visualization. Maybe we could try that in another session of this course. But I personally like the breath because you don't have to visualize anything. You don't have to think of anything. You don't have to create anything with your mind because the breath is already there. It's already part of our being, part of our experience. We're breathing in and out all the time. And so all you have to do is focus on what's right there. And also I think that focusing on the breath with your mind, keeping your mind focused on the breath, has a natural calming effect. Yeah, it helps your mind to calm down. And so while focusing on the breath, then your mind will become more and more calm. And also physically, I think physically it helps you to calm down. But then not everyone finds that helpful. There are people who don't like meditating on the breath, and so it's fine to choose some other object. Maybe another time we can talk about other objects that could be used. But for now, I'll just talk in terms of the breath. And so when it comes to using the breath as an object, there's different ways you can do that. Different teachers, different traditions explain different ways. So one explanation that I found helpful was just wherever you can feel the breath most clearly, then focus your attention there. Because some teachers say, oh, focus on your nose, your nostrils, around the nostrils. You can feel the breath coming in and going out. So that's the place you should focus. Other teachers say, oh, the abdomen. Yeah, your abdomen is moving in and out with your breathing. So they tell you to focus there. So I think you can experiment and maybe try a few different ways to see which one works best for you. But I like the advice that just wherever you are able to feel the breath most clearly, most easily, most comfortably, then put your attention there on that place and just be aware of the breath coming in and going out. Because in the sutra, when the Buddha taught meditation on the breath, there's a sutra called the Anapanasati Sutra, meaning mindfulness of breathing sutra. He didn't mention where to watch the breath. He just said, watch the breath. Pay attention to your breathing. So I think that gives you some space, some openness to experimenting and finding what works best for you. So we'll do that meditation for maybe 10-15 minutes. And I thought before going into the meditation on the breath, as a sort of prelude, it's helpful to go through the body and relax the body. Because I think if we start off meditating, but we're feeling kind of tense, tight, there's tension in our body somewhere, then it will make it more difficult to stay focused or concentrated. So I think I find this myself, and when I'm leading others, I think they find it helpful too, to just first do a sort of scan of the body, check for any tension, and if there is any tension, do your best to relax it, to let it go. And then it will be easier to focus, to concentrate. So I'll just guide you through a relaxation, and then we'll go into the meditation on the breath. So first of all, make yourselves comfortable. So traditionally in Buddhism, people are advised to meditate in the cross-legged position. If you can sit cross-legged, then that's fine, but many people have difficulty with that. And so it is fine to sit in a chair, but have your back straight rather than slouched or leaning back against the back of the chair. So try to keep your back straight, upright, and have your feet flat on the floor. You can have your hands resting in your lap. In the Tibetan tradition, we put our right hand on top of our left hand with our thumbs touching like this. So that's our tradition. But if you've learned another way of holding your hands, then that's fine too. And don't press your arms against your sides. Leave some space so that the air can circulate. And have your mouth relaxed. Have the tip of your tongue touching the roof of the mouth behind the upper teeth. So that way you don't need to swallow so much. And that makes it easier to concentrate. And let your jaw be relaxed. Don't clench your teeth. And many people like to keep their eyes closed when they meditate, but doing that can lead to sleepiness, drowsiness, which we don't want to happen. We want to stay awake when we meditate, awake and alert. And so if you think you might start getting drowsy and sleepy, then you can keep your eyes open a little bit, just enough so there's light coming in. And have your eyes looking down onto whatever's in front of you, your lap, a table, the floor. So that way there's light coming in, which helps you to stay awake. But your eyes aren't open so wide that you would see things that might distract your attention. So let's go through the body with our awareness and let go of any tension there may be. Start with the top of your head. Feel the top of your head and relax the top of your head. Let go of any tension you may have there. Then do the same with your forehead. Let your forehead relax. Relax your eyes, the muscles around your eyes, behind your eyes, while still keeping your eyes partially open if you can. Relax the other muscles in your face. You can let your face be expressionless or just have a little bit of a smile on your lips and your mouth. That can help your mind to be more relaxed. And then relax the sides of your head. The back of your head. And then the inside of your head, where we have our brain, which is usually very busy thinking. So let your brain relax. Let all the neurons, the nerves, the cells, the muscles in the brain, let them all relax. Let go of any tension you may have inside your head. And then relax your neck and throat. Then move your awareness down into your shoulders. Relax your shoulder blades, shoulder muscles, the upper part of your back. That's an area where we often hold tension. So if there's any tension there, let it go, release it. Then let your awareness continue traveling down the back, relaxing the middle part of your back. Relax the lower part of your back. Let the whole of your back Be as relaxed as possible. And then move your awareness to your chest, the front part of your body, and let it travel down through the front of your body, through your torso. First, relax your chest and all the organs inside, your lungs, your heart. Relax your abdomen, stomach, intestines, the whole digestive system. And then relax your pelvic area, where there's again many organs, muscles, your hips, your buttocks. So let that whole area be relaxed, free of tension as much as possible. And then let your awareness move down into your legs. First, relax the upper parts of your legs, your thighs. Then the lower parts of your legs, the calves. And then your ankles and feet, all the way down to your toes. And finally, our arms. Start with the right arm. Move your awareness to the top part of your right arm, just below the shoulder. Relax any tension you have in the upper arm. Do the same with the lower part of the arm. And then your wrist, hand, and fingers of your right arm, right hand. Then the left arm, starting at the top, right below the shoulder. Let your awareness travel down through the upper part of your arm, relaxing any tightness there. And then relax the lower part of your arm. Then the wrist, hand, and fingers. So we've gone through the whole body briefly, trying to relax as much as we can. So do your best to stay relaxed through the rest of the meditation time. If you do notice any part of the body tensing up, you can just put your attention there and tell it to relax. Let go of the tension. But now put your awareness on your breathing. So again, you can do that in whatever way, in whatever place you can most easily feel the breath, experience the breath. So maybe your abdomen or your chest or your nostrils, but that's up to you. Choose one place where you can experience the breath coming in and going out. And let your breathing be natural. Try to avoid controlling, manipulating your breathing. You don't need to do that. Your body knows how to breathe. So just allow your body to breathe naturally, the way you do when you're sleeping. Sometimes the breath might be longer, sometimes shorter. That's okay. The body knows how much air it needs to take in. Just step back and let your body breathe naturally. But with your mind, your awareness, be aware, pay attention to each breath as it is coming in and then as it is going out. There's usually a pause in between one breath and another, and also a pause between the inhalation and the exhalation. So just keep your mind, your attention at whatever place you're observing. Don't let it run away during the pause. Just keep it there. With each breath, each inhalation, and then each exhalation of your breath, one breath after another. And anytime you notice the mind wandering away from the breath, thinking about something else, or paying attention to a sound or some other sensation in your body, a memory, so anything that isn't the breath, as soon as you notice your mind is gone to that other object, let go of it, put it aside, and come back to the breath. So try to not be bothered by any thought or any distraction that comes up. Try to have a neutral attitude towards it, not get upset, but just see it as like a cloud passing through the sky, something transitory, temporary. Just notice that thought and let it go. Put it aside and return your attention to your breathing. So that was a little longer than 10 minutes. That was more like 15, including the relaxation. Generally, they say in the beginning, when we're starting to learn meditation, it's better to keep our sessions short and not try to meditate for too long. Otherwise, we might start feeling physically restless, uncomfortable, or mentally restless, and then it starts to become something we don't enjoy doing. So they say it's better to start with short sessions, and then gradually, the more experience you have with meditation, you can gradually lengthen your sessions. Because it is important to have an attitude of joy, enjoyment. I was thinking like children, when children, and we were once kids, remember? And whenever we had a chance to play, nobody had to tell us, okay, now it's time for you to play. We would just, whoopee, we're so happy to be able to play, and we could spend hours playing. So we really enjoy that, right? And so it's good if we can have a similar feeling about meditation, like, oh, how wonderful I have a chance to meditate. Not with expectations, as I mentioned before, not with this sort of grasping attitude, I want some good experience to happen, but just seeing meditation as a good thing to do. It's good for me, it's good for others, it's good for the world. You may have heard one of the practices of a bodhisattva is joyous effort. Sometimes it's called enthusiasm or perseverance, but I like the term joyous effort because that's what it's all about. It's taking joy, being happy to do what's good, to do things that are good for ourselves, good for others, and so on. And so that's what bodhisattvas cultivate. They take delight, take joy in doing virtuous things like meditation, right? So when they get a chance to meditate, they're like, oh, I'm so happy to be able to meditate. And if we can have that kind of attitude of being joyful, that will make it easier to stay with our practice, stay focused on our object. Yeah. Bring our mind back to our object of meditation when it wanders away. On the other hand, if we're thinking, oh, I don't really want to meditate, but my teacher told me, so I have to do it. So it's like, we're begrudging. We have this grudging attitude. So with that kind of attitude, yeah, you're probably not going to do very well. You won't have such a good experience. But if we can be happy to meditate, yeah, then it will go better. So one way we can get that kind of feeling of happiness is to just spend a little time feeling gratitude, generating gratitude. Think, oh, I'm so fortunate. I have this human life, this human body. I have food to eat. My body is still relatively healthy, and my brain is still working, and I can see and I can hear. So I have a lot going for me in my life, and there's a lot of good people who care about me, and they're there to help me when I need help. So just think about the good things in your life, the good things about yourself in your life. Feel a sense of joy and gratitude. And also, I've learned meditation. Yeah, I've had the chance to learn this practice, which can be so helpful for me to be a better person, a happier person, and also to be able to help others. If I can be a nicer person myself, happier person myself, then in my interactions, my relationships with other people, I'll be able to bring more positive energy to them, and that will benefit them. So just try to have a sense of how fortunate we are that we have this set of circumstances where we can practice meditation. So just, spend a few moments thinking like that. And And it's also good to generate a good motivation for meditation. Thing. Even just a simple thought like, I would like this meditation to be beneficial to myself, to others, to the world. Yeah, you can use your own words, your own ideas, but yeah, try to have that motivation of wanting to help, wanting to bring good energy out there to others, to the world, and have that your motivation for meditation. So that should help you also feel good about it, feel happy about it. Do any of you have a question you'd like to ask? I've been doing all the talking, but we're getting close to the end of this session, and maybe you have some questions you'd like to ask.
Venerable, we have a question from somebody in the Gompa here.
Uh-huh.
Laurel, she's just sitting down now.
Hi.
Hi there, Venerable Carter. Thank you so much. That was wonderful. Sometimes when I'm meditating on the breath, without me wanting to, it gets into that control thing that you're talking about, and my breath becomes a bit unnatural. I'm watching it, it becomes deeper or whatever. I know I can instead focus on parts of the body or whatever. That's easier for me. But it's something that would help me to be more healthy about meditating on the breath.
Yeah. I've heard some people talk about that they say that as soon as they start paying attention to the breath, then they start controlling it. I have never noticed that in my experience. Maybe it's happening and I don't notice it, but it's just not something that I have noticed. So I'm not really sure why that happens, and what can be done about it. Maybe if you simply notice that happening and say to yourself something like, let go, relax, just let the breath be, let it flow naturally, then that might work. I don't know. I mean, I can't help but wonder if that impulse to control could be something that appears in other aspects of our life. Yeah, like in relationships or at work or whatever, that they have this kind of tendency to want to control things. So then you're just noticing, you're becoming aware of that in your meditation. And so maybe that is an indication that that's something you can become more aware of, more attentive to in your life, and try to work on, try to let go and let things be rather than trying to control. So that's one suggestion. And you could also explore that, just like look at your mind, try to understand where this is coming from. Where is that coming from? So those are things that might help. But yeah, maybe what you mentioned could also be helpful if you just focus on some part of the body. Take the attention away from the breath and focus on some part of the body, like the abdomen moving in and out. Or I'm not sure. Focusing on parts of the body isn't normally explained in our tradition of Buddhism. That's not one of the recommended objects for cultivating shamatha, for calm abiding. But on the other hand, they do say that you can cultivate calm abiding using any kind of object. But it's better not to keep switching objects. Yeah. You have to, once you embark on this practice of shamatha with the aim of attaining shamatha, you do at some point, maybe in the beginning, you might experiment with different objects until you find one that you like, one that works for you. But once you do decide, on your object, then it's best to stay on that object and not every session or every week you're using a different object. If you really want to develop shamatha, then that's what's advised. But yeah, maybe in the beginning you could just try different objects and find one that that works better for you than the breath. Anyone else? Any other questions? Hi, Eleanor. You can unmute yourself. I can't hear you. You have to unmute. Still don't hear. And do you know what's wrong?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, now I can hear you.
I'll take those out of my ears. I was just thinking that sometimes when I meditate, I get a really stiff or tight space in the middle of my forehead. You know, and I know that I need to relax my head a little bit more, trying too hard.
Yeah, that could be an indication of trying too hard, pushing too hard. I think, yeah, there are different chakras, different energy points in the body. And they mainly talk about like the heart chakra, the throat. There's one in the crown, but there is also one here, kind of in the middle of the forehead. And so that is one of the places where our energies are moving around and in and out. So yeah, if we are trying too hard, pushing too hard, then our inner energies, subtler energies, can tighten up, and then we may feel it in the different chakras. So yeah, if you notice that, that could be an indication of trying too hard. So maybe that means you need to relax.
Thank you.
Yeah, the ideal, you may have heard this analogy. The Buddha used this analogy with one of his disciples who was struggling with his meditation, and sometimes he would try too hard, and other times he was too lax. And the Buddha gave the analogy of tuning the strings of a guitar or a violin, a stringed instrument. You have the keys that you turn back and forth until the string is just the right tension to make the sound that you want. And so the Buddha said it's similar with our mind. We need to kind of work with our mind, tuning our mind until we find kind of just the right state of mind, which is not too tight, like pushing ourselves too hard or having expectations or thinking we should be better than we are or things like that. Those are kind of thoughts or attitudes that can cause our mind to be too tight. But too loose, on the other hand, is when we don't try at all and our mind is just wandering all over the place. So that's not helpful either. So in between those two is the sort of middle way where we are, somewhat relaxed, at ease, but not too relaxed that we're, falling asleep or wandering all over the place. So somewhat relaxed, but still attentive, alert, and really trying our best to stay with our object of meditation, come back to it. So it could be kind of a long process, a lot of time and trial and error, to be able to find that right place, that ideal place of being not too tight and not too loose. So don't give up. Just, yeah. And having a symptom like a physical feeling like that could be, your body is telling you, lighten up, relax.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, so maybe next week, we'll do more meditation. I think I spent a lot of time talking tonight, and I hope it wasn't boring for you.
No.
Heard all those things before, but I just wasn't sure who was coming for this class. And sometimes there's brand new people who haven't meditated before. So I was kind of preparing myself for that so that I could, address their needs, their questions, and so on. But it looks like all of you have some experience with meditation. Well, if any questions do come up between now and next week, you could send them to the center, to Anne, and then she can forward them to me and I can address them next week. So if you have particular questions or requests, what you would like me to do, what you'd like to hear from me. So otherwise, yeah, next week we can just, start meditating right after the start of the session. And we could have a few sessions of meditation because it's an hour and a half session. We don't want to be just meditating the whole time. That's a long time. But we could have do some meditation, then have a break, discuss a little bit, then do another meditation, and so on.
Thank you.
That sound okay?
That's great.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Venerable.
Thank you.
I
Well-
really enjoyed it. I think everybody else did too here in the Gompa, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Thank you. So normally we finish meditations, talks, and so on with a dedication. So I'd like to just take a few minutes to do that because learning about meditation and doing meditation is something really good, really positive, beneficial. So we create positive energy, what we call merit. And the best thing we can do with merit is to share it with others. So think of the positive energy we put into this session and whatever good experiences we had during this session. So think of that positive energy and then feel the wish that it could benefit others, other people, other beings. There's so many people around the world right now who are experiencing very serious problems, a lot of suffering. So feel how wonderful it would be if we could share this energy with them to relieve their suffering, to bring them peace, peace of mind, happiness, and help them progress towards awakening. The potential we all have to be free of all suffering and fully developed in all good qualities and happiness. Okay, so thank you. And if you're not already doing a daily practice of meditation, then I recommend that between now and next week, do some practice. And it's ideal to do at least a little bit of meditation every day just to get more experience at it. The more we do meditation, then the easier it becomes. The more we're creating the cause to get the beneficial results of meditation.